Hi, my name is Bibek Adhikari. I am your English instructor. In today's class, we are going to solve the exercise portion of Unit 16, that is tag questions. So, let's begin. Alright, this is the sample dialogue that I have composed. Alright, let's go through the dialogue. We have two characters, namely Ryan and Archie. So Ryan says, "Hello Archie, it's a lovely day, isn't it?" Archie replies, "Yes, lovely. Yesterday was too hot, wasn't it?" So we have isn't it, wasn't it. Ryan, "Yes, it was. You heard about Atul, didn't you?" Archie, "No, I'm always the last to hear anything. He scooped 5 lakh rupees on the lottery. Really? He's lucky, isn't he?" Now, if you go through this dialogue, you'll find a lot of short questions like isn't it, wasn't it, didn't you, isn't he, right? So these short questions are called tag questions. Once again, what are they called? They are called tag questions. Or sometimes they are even called question tags. So they are either called tag questions or questions tags. So what are question tags? Let's begin by learning that. Now let's start by learning what question tags really are. Question tags are nothing but short questions that are added to the sentences to turn them into questions. So by adding those little questions, what we are actually doing is we are converting the sentences into questions, right? So that's all what we do in tag questions. So the question is, why do we use question tag? Why do we even need them? And the answer to that question is we use the question tags to confirm information. Let's say you're saying something like, "We can't stand here chatting all day long," and you add the question tag "can we" to the sentence. Now by adding that little "can we," what you did was you confirmed the information. Now there's a general rule for question tag. We have rule number 1 and rule number 2. By the way, there are many rules for question tags, but we are not going to study them in detail. We'll only study rule number 1 and rule number 2. So the first rule is negative tag for a positive statement. What that means is if a statement is positive, it is usually followed, no, not usually, it is always followed by a negative tag. Oh, just the reverse. If you have a statement like he isn't lucky or he is lucky, the question tag would be isn't he. The rule number 2 is positive tag for a negative statement. What that means is if you have a statement like he isn't lucky at all, and your question tag would be is he. Alright, let's look at some examples and you'll be clear. So what would be the question tag in the first statement? You are a doctor. You are a doctor. Aren't you? Correct. Aren't you? Let's look at the second statement. You are not going to leave me. You are not going to leave me. Are you? Are you going to leave me? Something like that. So what is the rule? The rule is if it's a positive statement, it will have a negative tag. If it's a negative statement, it will have a positive tag. Alright, this is rule number 1 and this is rule number 2. These are the basic rules that we will use while, forming question tags. So remember, we are always going to use contracted form in tag question. What that means is we are not going to use are you not. Rather, we would use the contracted form. So we are not going to use are you not. So let's look at more examples. Now let us learn about the tones. The first is rising and another is falling. So we have got two sentences. The first one is it's a nice day and the second one is the principal is coming. So let's learn about the tones. Let's go to the first one. It's a nice day. what would be the question tag? Isn't it? Correct. The principal is coming. Isn't he? Now let's learn about the tones. It's a nice day, isn't it? We have a falling tone. What that means is we are using the falling tone because we are already sure of the answer. So we just want confirmation. In fact, this is not even a real question. In the second example, a rising tone is used. And why is that done? So these are now real questions. So these are real questions, but these are not real questions. Because in the first statement, we say it's a nice day, and we already know that it's a nice day. So we are not asking the question tag for information, rather we are using it for confirmation. Correct? So it's a nice day, isn't it? A falling tone. The principal is coming, isn't he? A rising tone. Now in the second example, we do not know whether the principal is coming. So we do not know the answer. That is why we ask a question. While in the first case, we already know the answer. Now the big question is, what is the function of question tag? Let's learn about some main functions. Let us now look at two examples. So we have two examples like usual. The first one is, I met her yesterday. So what would be the tag question? Met her. So the tag question is, didn't I? Now let's go to the second one. His father was a doctor, wasn't he? Let us now look at the tones. I met her yesterday, didn't I? So it's a rising tone, as we are confirming something. His father was a doctor, wasn't he? So it's a falling tone. Because we already know the answer, we are only asking this question because we want somebody to engage in a conversation. So what's the point of using question tag in the first place, in the first example? So we use the question tag to confirm the information that we think is true. So because we already know the answer and we are asking this question for, making someone engage in a conversation. I met her yesterday, didn't I? So this is, the main function here is confirmation. You're asking the question expecting that the listener already knows the answer. While in the second case, why do we even use a tag question? So we use tag question to get someone involved in a conversation. So the speaker often knows the answer in this case. So his father was a doctor. I already know this line, so I'm asking the question, wasn't he? Using a falling tone. And why do I do that? Because I want someone to be involved in a conversation. While in the first case, I do not know the answer. I might have known the answer, but I might have forgotten. So something like that. So does that make any sense? I guess it does. So I met her yesterday. I may know the answer, but I'm still using tag question because I want to confirm information. I want somebody else to say, yes, you did. Right? Because I used a rising tone because I believe the information is true. What that means is there are two main functions of question tags. So the first function is to confirm information that you think is true, and the second function is to get someone involved in a conversation. Now let me give you some idea about the grammar that we use in the question tag. The title is Grammar Help. The first one is always use the contracted form of negative auxiliary verbs in tags. The second one is start auxiliary verbs with small letters.
The third one is use a question mark. So many students, many of you will forget to actually use a question mark.
So the third one is use a question mark. Now, this many of you will forget, but do use a question tag at the end of the tag question. Alright, that's a blunder. Never forget to end the question tag with a question mark. So use a comma. This is another mistake which many of you will do. I know you will. So do not do any mistakes while using a comma. So always use a comma to separate a statement and a tag. Let's now look at some more examples. So we have 5 different examples. Let's fill in the blanks. The first one is, the bus goes to Butwell, doesn't it? The second one, I'd rather write a story. I'd rather, so wouldn't I? So we have this structure, would plus rather. Had plus better. Very good. Let's say it once again. Had plus better and would plus rather. He's sung a song, hasn't he? The structure is has plus V3. Very good. Let's go to the fourth one. See, hardly ever goes out. So we have a word hardly which has a negative meaning. Hardly ever goes out. Does see? You've a nice toy. Now the structure is you means have. So have a nice toy. So have is acting as a main verb, right? Possessive main verb. So what is the answer? Haven't you? With this we have come to end of today's class. Now I'm going to give you some homework as usual. Your homework is, so you have 4 different sentences and you need to fill the blanks. The first one is, someone has let the dog in. Has is the verb. Hasn't they, hasn't he, had she. So find out the answer. You haven't got rupees 50 to lend me. Haven't got, yes. So, have you, had you, didn't you? Find out the answer. Him walked through the long grass. We have a second form of the verb, V2. So, find out the answer. You'd like, would plus V1. You'd like to win a fortune on the lottery. So, hadn't you, didn't you? Find the answer yourself. So with this we have come to end of today's class. If you have any questions or suggestions regarding this video series, feel free to write us at learning@deerwalk.edu.np. Thank you.